Well, if it's a Tuesday, that means Jerry Jones is speaking into a microphone. That is any day that ends in Y, but especially on Tuesdays where he does a radio appearance on the game in Dallas, Perloff. So, of course, he was asked, with the big game coming up against the Tampa Bay Bucks, how's Mike McCarthy's outlook, and does it depend on this game?
No. I don't even want to. No. That's it. I don't need to go into all the pluses or minuses, but we're not seeing any. We're not basing. I've got a lot more to evaluate Mike McCarthy on than this playoff game.
And my follow-up would have been, and what do you think about all that? I mean, I guess the question, Perloff, is Mike McCarthy coaching for his job this weekend? Yeah. And I understand that they put together back-to-back 12-win seasons. But I feel like there is a difference in coaching between winning games in the regular season and winning big games. Yeah. And right now, I think Mike McCarthy, if he loses this game to the Bucks, which, by the way, I don't think that they are, but if they do, I don't see where you have the confidence that Mike McCarthy is going to help you win a big game.
So you're saying, if you don't get to the Final Four, you should be fired? So does that mean there's going to be 28 coaching vacancies this year? I don't understand. The dude just won 12 games 2 seasons in a row. How can you fire a coach who does that? Well, it's not like you have the best roster in the world. You have the Cowboys, right? You even traded arguably your best receiver, got rid of him because you didn't want to pay him. You're not that stacked that this team has to win a Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Well, no one said it was Super Bowl or bust. That's not it for Mike McCarthy, but I'm sure Dallas fans probably wish it was more like Super Bowl or bust. I think that there is this idea about you winning 12 games in the regular season. You've talked about it because you're a fan of the Eagles in the NFC East. Gifted a pretty easy schedule this year. We've talked about this with the New York Giants. If they didn't have the schedule they had, would they be a playoff team? It's one thing to win games in the regular season. It's another. I know this is difficult because you have to go on the road, but it's another thing. You can say, okay, the wide receiver group, maybe the offensive line, whatever. Every team is dealing with something at this point. And the Dallas Cowboys certainly have enough. It was only a couple weeks ago we were talking about where are the holes on this roster, the defense and the ability to run the ball and how, you can use Pollard and in the passing game too and Ezekiel Elliott as well. I can't now start making excuses if they lose this game.
But I don't think you can discount 12 wins. I don't think there's a lot of coaches that you could guarantee that. If, say, you got rid of McCarthy, unless you get Sean Payton, which is that might be a little bit of a factor, thinking you can get a Super Bowl winning coach in.
I mean, I think that does factor into it.
Okay, if you take Sean Payton, you're going to hire some hot assistant to come in here, that team could easily revert to 8 wins. I think they were 8-8 for about 6 years in a row.
Who, the Saints?
The Cowboys.
The Cowboys. And the Saints were too.
The Cowboys were stuck in mediocrity under Jason Garrett. Then they bring in Mike McCarthy, win 12 games, and I think Mike McCarthy gets swallowed up in a heartbeat. I know everyone loves Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore. Guess who brought them in? Mike McCarthy. And this
No. Kellen Moore was already there, remember?
Oh, fine, whatever. Yeah, look at the roster, too. They got rid of Amari Cooper. They do have CeeDee Lamb, who they put a big draft pick in. Yeah. But if you look around the rest of the roster, they got a little lucky. They drafted Micah Parsons. Their offensive line is getting old. It's not the Rams from last year. It's not like you have Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, and Jalen Ramsey and Super Bowl or bust. I think it's a good team who should be proud of winning 12 games, and hopefully they'll win the playoff game. But if not, I think Jerry Jones is very comfortable bringing him back.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. This is what seems like the gripe that I hear so often with Cowboys fans is that when things are just okay, 8-8, it was like, well, Jason Garrett, I guess he hasn't done enough to get fired, but at the same time, are you really getting the most out of this roster? The inaction, right? I know sometimes as fans, we get a little impatient and what have you, but I think that's what I would be worried about if I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm worried about more inaction because you could say 12 games, that's fine, but the Eagles won 13 or 14. So they win the division and they become the number 1 seed. So it doesn't matter if you won 12 games or if you won 10 or 9. You're just a wild card team now.
Yeah, I know.
You made the playoffs. Good for you. You got to go on the road and play the Bucks. But if you don't start elevating, because no roster is ever going to be perfect. if you don't start getting that and seeing the elevation by the coach in a big game, like be the difference in a big game. The quarterback and the coach, be the difference in a big game.
So, honestly, get back to the question. Are you going to fire 28 coaches who don't get to the Final Four this year? What is the level of what you need the coach to do to stick around?
Well, I think you and I see the Cowboys roster differently. I see them as a team that has a lot of talent and one that – do you like their quarterback?
I like their quarterback. I like their wide receiver number one. I don't like him as much as other people. And I love Micah Parsons.
Okay.
And I like DeMarcus Lawrence a lot. And I like Diggs. But generally, though, no, I'm not looking at this roster and saying I don't think they're
You don't like Pollard?
I don't think
there's the one player you're more afraid of than any person in the NFL?
No. He hit that wall. I'm sure he hit the running back wall. I think the Eagles have a much more talented roster now.
Well, the Eagles are also the number one seed.
Yeah, the Cowboys won 12 games, and the Cowboys just beat them, by the way, and they have 14. They're not that different.
I think that it's not – I'm not asking if the Cowboys are playing the Eagles. I'm saying the Cowboys are playing the Bucs.
Okay, that game's tough. But I think if the Cowboys play the Eagles in the second round, a lot has to happen. I think it's a 2-point spread. I'm
not talking about the second round.
I'm just saying right now the Cowboys
weekend or Monday night. Pardon me.
I think the Eagles have a more talented roster, but right now I would not confidently bet the Eagles could beat this Cowboys team. This Cowboys team is good. They've won 12 games 2 years in a row. They're fairly well coached.
What a ringing endorsement. They're fairly well coached. Let's go to the phones at 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Let's go to Johnny. He's in Alabama. Johnny, what do you think about should Mike McCarthy be coaching for his job on Monday?
No, I don't think the Cowboys' problem is in the coaching staff. I think it's in their Jimmys and Joes. I think Prescott is not a playoff winning quarterback. I've never been enamored with what he does. I mean, he's a great athlete, but I don't know. I mean, he's Kirk Cousins. He's certainly not. He's not elite. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Brady as the GOAT. I mean, he's just an every 8th, 10th place quarterback sitting in the league playing for America's team. I'm just not a
Dak believer. I'll tell you what, he's getting paid like a top 10 quarterback.
Last week.
Well,
he looked really bad.
So you could be the 8th best quarterback and win a Super Bowl, 8 to 10, and that's probably where he is. So is that so bad? I mean, where else are you going to go? If you don't have Dak, who's your quarterback?
Oh, well, I mean, there have been opportunities for Cowboys to go get QBs that they're in via the draft. I mean, they've had draft capital they could have used to move up and take a QB in the round one. I just don't. I don't think they've done it because they thought, well, he was hurt, or they want to give him, we'll see what they got in him. But after 5 years or however many years he's been in the league, I think they should know what they got in him, and I don't think they've got the guy. And there have been free agent quarterbacks they probably could have gotten. I'm not a huge Cowboy fan. I like the Dolphins. I'm a Bama guy. I live in Bama, so I like Bama quarterbacks.
Sure.
I think Jalen Hurts is going to be. I think he could be one of those guys. That is the guy. He's a winner.
Hey Johnny, what about Bryce Young, number 1 overall? You down with that?
I don't think he is. I think there'll be too many people that stick a ruler to that guy, especially now that Houston's got the first pick. I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys that say, okay, is he 6'2"? No. Is he big and burly, athletic guy? No. But now that guy's a winner, and he's like a point guard. He will distribute the ball where it's got to be. And, I feel like that Bama wasted his 2 years. And in the championship game last year against Georgia, when Jamison Williams went down and Georgia could bring 9 men in the box, it totally changed that ball game. I think Young is a winner, and whoever gets him is going to get a good QB.
Johnny, appreciate the call. Love the outlook. I mean, here's the one thing, though, and hate to go the cliche, but best ability is availability. And I know big guys get hurt all the time, too, but that's what I worry about with Bryce Young. As Johnny said, bringing the ruler out, measuring. It's not the height so much. It's like he's not even 200 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if C.J. Stroud is 200 pounds, by the way. I actually looked at his bio. He was listed at 194. Will Levis is huge, but guess what? He wasn't throwing touchdown passes in college.
Well, Levis has got his issues for sure.
So there's a great tweet by, remember UCF quarterback Mackenzie Milton out of Hawaii?
Of course.
Great guy. He tweeted the exact same thing that the caller just said. If Jameson Williams doesn't get hurt and Marvin Harrison Jr. don't get hurt, Georgia has 0 titles. I thought that was a funny point. Yeah. I don't know if that's absolutely true. I thought Georgia had a lot of momentum in that Alabama game. Georgia got comfortable, and then they just turned on the gas. So whatever. I understand what he's saying, but yeah. Dak, by the way, we've gone nowhere in Dak. Dak's become like our new Derek Carr. We started off this
Bermuda Triangle.
We started off this argument. I said I think Dak is great, and you said I think he's good, not great,
yep.
And you had him at 11, and I had him at 9. So he's somewhere in between 7 and 14 in quarterbacks. Yeah. We all know that. We all know who Dak is to some extent.
Even if I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, I still think he's good enough to win a Super Bowl. But the problem is, I don't know if he ever will. And it's games like this where you have to go on the road. You got to play the Bucs. The Bucs are not a good team, right? They're not.
Well, yes.
They have an all-time great quarterback, but they're not a great team.
I think they're coming into this game healthier than they've been all year. Ryan Jensen might even come back.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's a different thing.
Let's go to Jim. He is in South Carolina. Hey, Jim, what's up?
Hey, I'm just curious how you can talk about the Cowboys so much without referencing their performance yesterday in
Sunday. Yeah.
The Commanders game, which was just stunningly bad. I mean,
terrible.
By the fourth quarter, it looked like they should punt the ball on first down every time they got it, because otherwise they were going to find some way to throw it to the Commanders.
And, Jim, quite frankly, Perloff and I talked about this a lot yesterday, whether or not Perloff thinks that maybe Dak Prescott is hurt, right? And
well, he definitely got hurt in the Titans game. He talked about it.
Right.
He bagged up his knee. I thought that loss to the Commanders was a matter of motivation. This is a team who has to be focused and 100% in. I didn't think they entered that game really knowing what they were playing for, and I think that contributed to that a little bit.
Okay, so then maybe, and Jim, appreciate your call, I think that also falls back on the coaching staff, does it not?
Why? It doesn't matter. The game is meaningless. I'm not going to blame them.
So don't play them. That's the thing. If you had played Cooper Rush and some other and sat guys like Brian Daboll did with the Giants, then who cares if you lose 26-6?
That doesn't matter. Who cares if you lose 26-6 anyway? It means not. That game meant nothing. If they had won 50-3, it would mean nothing. If they lost 26-6, it meant nothing. If Mike McCarthy had won that game, are you giving him more of a pass to be hired next year? Of course not.
No, not that. But do you not believe in momentum then? You don't believe in any of that stuff?
No. Big time, I don't believe in that. Honestly, I really believe, for example, if you watch Baltimore-Cincinnati last week and you think that's the game you're getting next week,
But we're not even getting that quarterback. That was Anthony Brown. They didn't even put Huntley in the game.
I feel like Week 18 could be very deceiving for the playoffs. We see it so often. I'm not a big believer. I don't think most people are. You don't look back at Week 18 and say, you know what I saw there is really going to have a big impact.
No, but I think that if they lose to the Bucs, if the Cowboys lose to the Bucs, I don't think you're just going back to Week 18. I think you're going back even before then saying, wow, the defense really feels like they are not firing on all cylinders. And it doesn't, and ever since Tony Pollard's hurt, it's like you can't get any of the rush game going, and it makes them too one-dimensional.
Yeah, but how do you know that? I mean, basically, I know the defense has completely disappeared, but you have these 2 crap games at the end of the season. If the Cowboys had won their last 5 and lost to Tampa Bay, I don't think it'd be the same narrative. It'd be they can't win the big game.
Oh, I don't think so. I think it's the end of the season type stuff where you're, it's like, are you playing your best football at the right time? It's not like the Cowboys are so injured. Again, unless you think Dak Prescott was really feeling the effects.
Well, I think
then he shouldn't have played.
They've been shuffling around their line a lot, their offensive line. I think that's had a big part of all this. But look at the Bengals have lost 2 offensive linemen, 2 starters in the last week. Like, they're dealing with offensive line issues, not the Cowboys. So you're saying this exhibition game against the Titans on Thursday night, which meant less than nothing. Yeah. If you take a game that means nothing and you take away 5 times the meaning of that game, that's where that game was. That wasn't even a preseason game. It was so stupid. They shouldn't have even been playing.
Well, they had to.
And what did that Washington game mean? If they had won that game and then they lost to Tampa, would that change the narrative at all? No, it meant nothing. It was an unusual game.
But they still went out there and played and looked crappy.
Yeah, I know, because they didn't care.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. If you think, like Perloff did Week 18 mean absolutely nothing?
Do you think their win over the Titans?
I know it meant nothing.
Say the Titans game was their last game. Would you have said, well, at least they won their last regular season game? That makes me feel better about Tampa Bay?
It wouldn't have been.
I mean, about Dallas?
No, but the Titans waved the white flag on that game long before that Dallas they ever even played. And to be quite frank, I think Washington basically did the same thing by starting Sam Howell, and the Cowboys still couldn't beat them.
I mean, Sam Howell was such an upgrade for the Washington Commanders on Sunday. And I think Washington was way fired up to beat their division opponent.